Cool. Hi, this is Helm weekly developer meeting. It's the 7th of September 2017, and the usual agenda is this. Oh, I guess there's no one new here, so I don't need to talk about usual agenda. So we'll just start with stand-ups. I will start. I added some additional functionality to Federation Rudder that can allow federated services to have to translate the host names that are designed to be in the local cluster to change to the federated host names, but it's basically a set of terrible hacks because of lack of information I have in Rudder, but it actually can work if anyone ever needs that, so there's that. Other than that, I started working on implementing the proof of concept of the proposal that I started with using existing Helm releases as chart dependencies, and I will continue to do so this week. And basically, that's it from me, and the ball goes to Adam.
Yeah, I was the bug Sherpa this week, so it's actually a really quiet week. Not a lot came in addition to it being a short week. So I just want to say great job, Mache, on getting the Circle CI 2.0 stuff merged in. Still looking into it just to make sure everything's building correctly. I think there's that one issue where the deployment side of things isn't kicking off. So I don't know if you have some time after this, or if you just want me to look at some documentation and try to figure out what's going on. Just let me know. And then I'm going to start looking into Kubernetes 1.8 now that some betas have come out next week. Butcher.
I am working on trying to get a new release of Sprig out and then get a PR in for that. I merged 4 PRs earlier this week. There's one more PR that I think I want to get merged in. It's a date formatter, a better date formatter than the one that's in there. So if we can do that, I'll release a new version of Sprig and then get that into the upstream. And then I have been working a little bit with some of the OpenStack folks on trying to get Tiller running as a daemon set. They're doing the work. I'm just telling them how I would do it if it were me. So it sounds like Larry Rensing and Vicodin, Brandon Josa are working on it, and they're trying to get Kevin Fox roped into that. And I suggested, Justin, that they might ping you about it if they want to ask specific questions, because you have more background knowledge on some of that than I do. But it sounds like they're just kind of going along on that.
You know why they want to do that, Matt?
Yeah, because they want to be able to use it to bootstrap and run. They want to make Tiller self-hosting. And so if they can set it up as a daemon set, it gets them farther. There are a couple people who are trying to make, if you can run it as a daemon set and you can launch it in the kubelet, you can actually have Tiller control core components and extensions and things like that to Kubernetes as well. Okay. And that's part of what they're after longer term. So they're going to start by making Tiller self-hosting and then try and move toward that. And I know Adam's already talked to a few people who have done some similar stuff with it. So that's not really a high priority item to me, but it's something that I think is really cool, and we might start seeing some PRs roll in if they can be successful on that over the next, however long it takes. So I forgot the third thing I was going to say. And I did something else small. So I will pass it on to, I think Michael is the sole representative of the charts team today. You want to go?
Sure. Yeah. So I put in a bit of work over the U.S. holiday weekend. Merged a bunch of charts, fixed a couple of test flakes. There are more PRs to review. That's That's basically my weekly status update is reviewing PRs.
Have you guys gotten any feedback on the comment chart that Adnan merged earlier this week?
Nope. I've started working with it a little bit myself, taking the ALB ingress controller chart that Ticketmaster and CoreOS have developed. I've started kind of trying to make use of the comment chart in there, figuring out what needs to be extended, or which bits I can use and what needs to be added. So, but as far as I know, nobody else that I know of is using it yet. So
someone was asking about it in the channel this morning, and they were asking on none about it. I think it was in users or maybe developers. I can't remember. So
okay, cool.
People now know about it.
Cool. Yeah, I think it. I mean, it's got huge potential. I'm excited to work with it more. So that's all I've got.
I can go next. I've been reviewing pull requests, and mainly there's a pull request that Amanda Cameron submitted a while ago that I've been following up on and just working with her on. It's recursively traversing a directory structure to give you like an index file with like nested charts. So I'm working on that, and I just reviewed a few other pull requests. That's it for me. Fisher.
I do have been reviewing pull requests. We merged up earlier this week the Helm template plugin into Core. And then there was a new feature that someone has proposed, which is adding the cube version flag to Helm template. So I'd be interested in possibly discussing that a little bit further and seeing if that's something that we want to move forward with, or if it's just something like what the original design of Helm template was about. Otherwise, not much else for me. The only thing that I've really done to contribute towards Helm other than PRs and issue triaging is that I just submitted a PR to make the semantic versioning constraints that we set out in Helm 2.2 into the documentation, just so we have a solid point when people are wondering what's considered a breaking change and what's not. So it's a little bit clearer to people who are making PRs on if it will be merged in Helm 2 or not. So, and yes, Matt Butcher, that does set capabilities cube version. Stephen?
Sure. I've been away from work in general for about the last week with roofing trouble at home. Whole separate story. Since I've been back, though, only skirting around the edges, I just read the issues lately to see if upgrading to 2.6.1 seems like a sound thing to do internally. And once again, playing around with case on it a little bit to do a kind of beauty contest to see if I took one of my charts and tried to recast it in case on it, how does the verbosity compare, and just kind of contrast the experience to see again whether that's something I'm interested in pushing on for grading in Helm. That's all I can say for now.
I want to know how that goes eventually.
I hope I'm stumbling a lot. It
Okay.
seems extremely verbose, which I was expecting the exact opposite.
Okay.
But I might be doing something wrong. Justin.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Oh, thank you. Let's see. So recursive build, I was trying to write a test for that and spent a lot of time and then realized that charts are actually tarred up within other charts sometimes, or all the time apparently. And so my manual testing and then my automated tests were structured differently, and I was seeing different things, and I was just mind explosion. So hopefully I've come to my senses on that and can get the recursive build test that I think Libs is the name of the guy that started it. So basically trying to take over that PR and finish that. That was a Colab, OpenStack Colab thing we wanted from way back. It's not super high priority, but And yeah, some other miscellaneous stuff. There was sorting the manifests is still kind of, I have another PR to finish sorting the manifests, unknown manifests, so just more deterministic. So even when they're unknown, and then, so just sort as much as possible consistently. I'm forgetting something I wanted to talk about. I don't know. Be in Denver next week. I don't know what you guys are doing, but if anybody wants to come get our OpenStack on, we're going to be at the Renaissance Hotel all week, apparently. I'm not going to be there till Tuesday, but
In LA?
in Denver.
Oh, in Denver, right. Okay.
Yeah, Renaissance. But yes, there was something OpenStack related, I think I was going to say. Oh, well, I'll try to remember it. Is that it? Taylor, did you go?
Nope, my turn now. So I didn't get a lot of work done coming out of the weekend. But I did review a few PRs before the weekend, and I owe a few more follow-up PRs. I do need somebody to review the secrets PR. I will grab the link and put it in the notes. For using secrets as a storage backend instead of config maps. It doesn't replace it; it just adds it as an option for Tiller, and it looks really good. There's one function, publicly exported API function that changed, and so we need to have the discussion if we're going to consider that breaking enough that we don't release it until 3.0, or if there's a way we could refactor to get around it. It looks pretty solid, and I'm going to just be testing that out. But it's large enough that there needs to be at least one other core contributor who reviews that and signs off on it. So if somebody could do that, if they have a little bit of extra time, that'd be great. So I'll be handling some more PRs. I also was working on getting some more stuff for Helm Commandeer, which also involves setting up my Windows environment. I know that Fisher is going to do this too. I'm trying to do some of my, exactly, Justin, do some of my coding on a Windows 10 machine with the Windows subsystem for Linux and everything, just so we have I can relate to other people on Windows trying to use Helm and or develop on Helm. So that took up some time too, trying to figure out some of the little interesting details. So maybe if I think about it, I'll remember to document it in a blog post or something. But anyway, that's what I'm doing this week. And I think I was the last one. So back to you, Maciej.
Thank you. Okay, so does anyone have any demos? Anyone want to show anything other than Waffle House?
For still stands.
Okay. Okay, so after demos, is there any, I guess it's time for open discussion. So does anyone have anything they want to discuss with anyone?
I'll just give oh, go ahead.
I might have a demo in a second. I'm checking to see if it's building right now.
Oh, cool. So can we discuss something and then go to the demo?
Yeah. And,
cool.
And Nick also didn't get a chance to say anything if he has anything.
Sorry.
Hey guys, not a problem. So we have a new contributor on our team who's looking to start working on Helm as well. He's basically starting with some of the starter easy low-hanging fruit issues. His name is John. He was supposed to be here this morning, but I'll make sure I introduce him in the Helm dev channel. So just a heads up on that. You'll probably be seeing some contributions for him. So he's joining from SUSE, the SUSE team. So just a heads up on that.
Cool, great.
Nick, is this John Bonham?
Yes, this is John Bonham.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Other than that, didn't have much. I've mostly just been working internally on some stuff and looking at Helm reviews and things like that. So that's me. So
cool, thank you. Okay, so Matt, did your demo build? Okay, so I guess you can share your screen and we can show the demo. Can you tell something about it?
Yeah,
you are muted.
There we go. Let me share my screen here. It was a long weekend, and I got bored for a little while, so I started doing random stuff and started playing with writing a wrapper around Helm that gave like IntelliSense autocomplete based on, I can't remember the name of the project that I found that did this kind of stuff. It was like Cube something or other. That really doesn't narrow it down, does it? But so I can do things like Helm L and it'll start auto-completing the possible commands, or Helm get and it'll auto-complete, because here I've got like subcommands and then also different releases that are out there. So I can like, and then it just prints it out. So I was just kind of playing around with ways to do auto completing that would make like a shelly kind of environment. I don't know how to use my own tool though. So I posted this on GitHub as the Helmet project, and I don't know if I'll get around to doing too much more with it. But it was kind of fun and kind of a cool way of making, like if you're doing a whole bunch of Helm operations all in a row, it was kind of a nice way of feeding forward information and reducing the amount of typing you have to do. So that's all.
Is it contextual in the sense of, does it recognize, say, you already know you're within this sub-command, so the next set of things are these?
Yeah, so like if I hit L, it'll give me only the commands that it knows start with L, and then if I hit dash, it'll bring up all the different flags for LS, so that I can, so it knows kind of what the context is to an extent. I haven't worked out all the kinks, but yeah, it's pretty. So like if I do the get command, it knows both that there are subcommands that it can take, and it knows that Helm get can take different releases. So it gives me both options as things I can do. Except I shouldn't have hit enter there. Yeah, it's kind of cool to the framework that I used to build this, which I can't remember. Let me see what it is. Was really easy to use. It's called GoPrompt, and basically it allows you to write these kind of easy wrappers over tools like this, and you just tell it how to determine its context, and it'll do that from there.
There's Kubernetes one that I played with a little bit.
Yeah, it's by the same guy. The CBATA guy is the one who wrote.
Yeah.
I know that the kubectl has a way to generate bash and Z shell completions, although I find in Z shell they often don't work quite right. But this looks better. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Can you set the context in which you are working? Like if you have several clusters in your kubectl, how can you switch between them? Should you restart the Helmet, or can you do it while in Helmet session?
Right now you'd have to restart it, but that was one of the ones I was thinking would be really nice to have built. There are a couple of kubectl commands that would be nice to build into that command, so you could do something like use context and switch the context right away, or get version information on the Kubernetes, because there were a couple small ones like that that I thought would be nice to have. And the framework actually allows you to add stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. I just asking because it would help with my federation stuff a lot when I'm working on several clusters at once. Cool. That's a really nice demo.
I'll drop in a link to the GitHub project, and you can add it to the minutes. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wants to top this? Or just have any demo.
Yes, no, I don't have a demo, but I just have a quick update. Still planning the Helm Summit with Kieran, and we're looking at we're looking at Portland and Georgia, Alpharetta, Georgia, as like the top two contesters, but we're still trying to find venues right now. So, quick update.
Did you say Georgia?
Oh yeah. Is that a problem? No.
That's just a very random location. I mean, you expect to hear something like Portland or Austin or LA or New York, and then it's like Portland and Georgia.
It's almost like the person organizing this might live in Georgia.
Is there even flights to Georgia?
She
Does
finds
the
out.
Waffle House have a meeting space?
I mean, that's obviously why we're planning. No, I'm just kidding. No, there's a Microsoft office in Georgia, so we're trying to find like venue options that would be, I don't know, free.
Okay.
So we're just looking at. There's like a Microsoft Technology Center in Alpharetta, Georgia. The other places are really, really cold that time of year, like New York and Boulder, and might snow. So we're just trying to find a more dependable location. But if anybody has any other preferences, please let me know.
What's the rough time frame for it?
Early January.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else have any other topics that they want to talk about?
I do. I wanted to talk a little bit about the cube version in Helm template, and see if that
Is there something you can post?
Yes. Let me post the link to the PR. Just actually, oh, I still got it.
So so normally that variable is set by the server in Tiller.
Yes.
So all this person wants to do is add a way to override that on the command line for Helm template, which doesn't contact Tiller.
Yes.
So that they can use charts that require .capabilities.kube version. Is that basically it in a nutshell?
That is basically it in a nutshell. And so it's a little bit of a conflict, I think, because, well, it's not necessarily a conflict. It's just more like we have precedents in Helm lint that we like mock out the capabilities there as well. And also, this appears to be like we've been talking about this a little bit, and we've seen use cases where people who are using Helm template will be using it to run their charts against against the template engine, and then use kubectl apply, or do it in some other way. And so it's more of the question of, is that something that we want to officially endorse and support, in the sense that like we will be supporting those use cases moving forward, like people who are using Helm template to generate from their chart and use kubectl apply or something like that along in the future? Or is that sort of out of the scope of what Helm template originally was? And so I was getting conflicting information because in Helm, like in your plugin README, it was specifically stated that Helm template is supposed to be just for debugging charts, not necessarily for running against the template engine and piping it somewhere else. So I'm just, yeah, and I was under the impression that when we were going to merge in Helm template, that's what it would be. So I'm just more curious if this is actually what we want to do moving forward. And if so, then it would make sense to add a feature flag for people to make it configurable. But if it isn't, then perhaps we should just follow through with Helm lint and just do the same capabilities that we use. And we're like currently targeting Kubernetes 1.7. So it would make sense that we would be mocking out the capabilities, kube version being 1.7 as the assumption in master. So I'm just wondering about the overall discussion on which way should we lean forward towards that. Or if we don't have an opinion yet.
I think that adding something like this would be okay, because if you're debugging, you want to be able to see what the actual output's going to be based on the criteria. The only thing I have an issue with is naming. I think it could be phrased a little better on the command line to help portray like this is a forced override of a server runtime constraint. It doesn't have to be quite that wordy, but kube version doesn't really explain like what this is actually doing.
Yeah, would set kube version be better?
Or like capability set or something like that, because
well, I mean,
yeah.
I'm not talking about the actual flag. I just mean like the help description.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Like want to be a lot more clear as far as what this is actually doing. Because cube version on everything else means extremely different thing.
On a slightly broader answer to the question, I wrote Helm template to be a debugging tool, but have since been convinced by the way people are using it, that it's not at all a bad idea to make it so that people can render static templates and do their thing with them. Like, there are people who have hard requirements that they need to check the rendered manifest into VCS or things like that. This would allow them to do that. And so I'm not at all opposed to adding flags to template that would make it solve that use case for people. Even though it's not my preferred use case, I still think there are valid reasons why people would have that use case. And, we could facilitate that with simply by merging PRs when people ask to merge them. So
right,
I haven't
and
looked at the PR.
We did this for
PR, but
we did this for init, right? We made it. We changed how the output is rendered specifically for that purpose, so you could actually pipe out the output and be able to send that directly to Kubernetes. So I don't see an issue with doing the same thing here. I know kubectl has a flag for setting specific version on resource output, I think. I wonder what their verbiage is.
I was going to throw in that I know for the fact that we were wanting this, so I'm not intimately familiar with what's going on over there these days, but basically these gates that end-to-end tests and stuff that run over there, they want to use template. They currently use the template plugin to compare the outputs and just testing without tiller, basically. Like you said, Matt, some way to verify that this is somewhere in the chain that this output is correct, and so I could see people using it like for nefarious reasons too. Whatever. I thought something else to talk about. I don't know, we might be out of time, but just in general, like kind of relates to what you just said, Adam, about the init application being able to output wide format, JSON format, YAML format, kind of universally. I think that's been brought up in it before, maybe, but just something to think about. We don't have to go into right now, but
yeah, I've actually done quite a bit of work around that, and I ran away from it.
Oh, really?
Yes, and so the reason for that is pretty much everything is in the config maps as binary data. So it's a lot of work to output the data as something like readable to YAML. Otherwise, everything's just base64 encoded. So it doesn't really give you that much. It's just JSON, and then every single data field, or no, I think it's just data. So the entire JSON is just basics, and it goes deep. Where I actually had a few PRs open where I wrote structs for every single type of output that we would want, and it turned out that it wasn't really useful for anything. But if we can figure out a way to have JSON output, I would love to see that. Just so you can pipe and use like JQ and like get to whatever specific data you want. Like I think that would be huge, but once you get into the detail of it, it starts getting a little hairy.
Yeah, I just brought it up because there's.
Well, I kind of.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, sorry, Justin. What I was thinking, I kind of feel like if you're labeling your things properly in Helm, and when it gets into the I don't see any reason why not to just use kube control to pull it down using the labels and output it with JSON and -o JSON -- export. If somebody really wants that, I feel like it'd be a cool, slick feature, but the amount of work required to have that and maintain that compared to the value delivered, I don't think really ends up delivering much. So,
that's what I was saying. Is it turned out to be so much work to define these custom types and to maintain a whole nother type. But the issue is really around the release. there's no good data view, like machine consumable or human consumable of the release object. You can get all the different Kubernetes objects after the Taylor processes it and creates all the various resources, but to get that snapshot of what does this release look like, there's no clear view of that. It's pretty much all just machine garbage in there.
Yeah, the reason I brought it up is because there's just a little issue where someone says, well, I can't see the release name is truncated. So they want to do like a flag for full column width or something. I was like, let's just do an output flag. And then we could do wide, like, kubectl. And then if we want to do JSON and whatever later, we can. But then it made me think, well, what about across Helm? We can just go ahead and take this by the horns and just figure out what needs to have a output flag and what doesn't and that type of thing. So.
Yeah, no, I'm on board if somebody else wants to hit their hand with a hammer for a while. But
the request next for another sub command to have some output format or whatever. So, yeah. Well, cool, man. Yeah, that all makes sense. Good to know you've already treaded there.
Yeah, it was definitely a lesson learned that should be a thought at the beginning. So I learned something from that. Standard output.
Okay. Any more discussion topics?
Do we need to assign next week's?
Yeah, we do. I was just waiting for the uncomfortable silence to get to it. So I guess the silence was there. So who wants to be the issue Batman this week?
I can do issue buttling this week since I will be at a conference next week. Probably won't be otherwise terribly productive. So
what did you call it? Issue?
Well, Mache said a butler, right? And I guess
no. I said Batman. Sorry.
Oh, Batman. I think you said butler.
No, yeah, I guess.
I'll buttle issues for a while.
Okay.
I was confused, but I was playing it cool. Yeah, okay.
We're going to call you Butcher the Butler.
Let the record state that Butcher is the Batman/Butler this week. Okay, so who is going to be the meeting moderator next week? Cool. So Adam is the meeting moderator next week. And who is going to take notes?
I will take notes next week.
Great. So Matthew Fisher is going to take notes next week. Do we have anything else? I think we are over time a bit. By the way, did we agree that the meetings are going to take 40 minutes, or is it like it's half hour, but we can extend it 15 minutes or something like that?
We've generally been going 45.
Okay.
I mean, have we decided to finally update the actual time? I know the last person talked about that was Butcher.
I think it might be a good idea to update it, and then if we don't use it, then we don't use it.
Yeah, so can we decide on it right now? Because I think this is a good place to do it.
I think it's better to say it's longer so that if we tend to use the time, I think it's better to not make it seem like you're stretching something.
Okay, so the question is, should we start a bit earlier? Because I think there is Kubernetes community meeting right now, and some people usually want to get there. At least Adnan, I think, is joining it usually, as far as I remember. So maybe we should start 15 minutes earlier, if that's okay with you.
I would like that.
I think that sounds very fair.
Good with me.
Okay, for me it doesn't really make sense. It's evening for me, so you are the ones who are going to get up earlier. So okay.
If we're changing the time, does anybody have any interest in moving it 30 minutes earlier instead of 15?
9's really hard for me because it's. I mean, that's for Pacific Coast people. That's around stand-up times, at least in my experience with most of the people I know.
You're right.
9:15 is even pushing it a little bit. So like I worry about that.
Okay, so let's
It's
just
right
keep
around
it-
second coffee time, so
But I can blow off stand up, so it's okay. You know, we're still go to stand up, and that's this. Yeah.
We can also discuss it on the Helm on Slack instead of in these meetings, so that all stakeholders are there and take a vote. Maybe we don't need to make this decision right now.
Okay. Also, I take my suggestion back, but yes.
I vote for 17 minutes early.
So are we good with then like just 15 minutes earlier, so 9:15 to 10 Pacific?
I concur.
Okay. I will note that in the notes. So let it be written, so let it be done. Rubber stamp.
Okay,
Like
so
that, a law is made.
I just updated my own copy of the meeting, so.
okay, so I don't think there is anything else. So unless anyone has some last minute additions.
I will announce that in the channel unless somebody else wants to, in the users dev channel. Is that an appropriate time to use the @channel flag, or should I just use @here or nothing?
I don't
Please
think you
don't use
can.
@channel.
Very
It's
well.
annoying.
Yeah.
I will just
They
say,
took away our @channel anyway, I think.
yeah, okay, well, that's what I was thinking, was using the horn that we use for announcements, the announcement horn.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay, so let the record state that the meeting is finished. Thank you all, and see you next week and on Slack, I guess.
Awesome.
Thanks a
Thanks,
lot.
Monte.
Bye, everyone.
This is Awesome Cat. Bye.
Everyone.